don't you sit there? Face to face. All right. So we're starting up a pretty nice group. I'm assuming that you all have learned Maimorim in the past before. Yes? No? Yes? You learned Maimor? You learned Maimorim? A little bit? You? A Maimor is a little different than Tanya. A lot different. Tanya has one topic, and basically he discusses this topic in very general terms, and does not deviate. What deviate means? Doesn't go into other angles. In a Maimer, especially Maimorim, the Rebbe Rashab is Maimorim. There's a lot of side things that are brought in. And the objective, the reason they brought in, is the point of a Maimer is not just give the information. Like in Tanya, he says there are two nefoshes, a nefesh alikis and nefesh abanis. So you got that information. And these two nefoshes are battling with each other. You got that information. The objective, the union of a minor, is to discuss, let's say if you say nefesh alikis, he would discuss the nefesh alikis in a very rich and a broad way to understand the difference, nefesh alikis and nefesh abanis, and how it functions. In other words, the objective of a minor is not just the points that are made, but the way it's presented to the mind, so that we can actually understand it. The objective, Bechlal, of Chassidus, Chabad, which is very different than other Chassidus. You know that there is a broad field of Chassidus and non-Chassidus Chagas. The Baal Shem Tov had many Talmidim. The major one of them, who took over the Baal Shem Tov, was the Maggid. And the Maggid had many, many Talmidim. Only one of them, the Alter Rebbe, had the Shittas Chabad. All the others maintained the very different Shittas, much more similar to each other. And the Alter Rebbe's Shitta was very different from the others. And the primary difference is that the Alter Rebbe presents Chassidus in a way that even our minds, we would actually personally understand it, but not just know what it says, but would actually be able to personally relate to that which is being explained. And by personally relate to it, then it actually affects our thinking, affects our feelings, and it permeates the whole person, it changes the whole person himself, not just his knowledge, but the whole person. This is comparable. The difference between Chassidus Chabad and Chassidus Chagas can be very generally expressed in the difference between a garment and food. As a matter of fact, you know that in the other Chassidus, the garments that they wear is very important. They have all kinds of different garments. And the in general, how things have been done is very important. This is essentially the form of the Chassidus, and their connection to their Rebbe is by being by the Rebbe's Tish and by singing together. Chassidus Chabad has a different approach and different demand. Just like food. If you take food, like the example is, you take a loaf of bread and you tie it around your belly, nothing's going to happen. Food you have to break up, put it in your mouth, chew it up, so that your body can actually accept it, you swallow it, let it digest itself, until that the food becomes part of your bloodstream. It's no longer a separate thing. The same is the Chassidus Chabad. The idea of Chassidus Chabad is that you learn it in such minute detail and break it up and chew it over in such a way that it becomes part of your thinking process. So that to take a very broad and perhaps a big expectation that if you learn the Chassidus, that in learning the Torah, that Hashem created the world. So you could have this as a piece of knowledge. Hashem created the world. The world remains the same as it was before you found out that it was created by Hashem. It's the same world, except now you know who is the author of the world, so to speak. It's like knowing who is the author of the book. Whereas the way Chassidus Chabad presents this principle, and if you learn it earnestly, and you absorb and you accept the explanations, you begin to see the world differently. You recognize in the world elements that are clearly representative of their Creator, representative of godliness. They're not worldly. And for this reason, in order to digest, just like a food, when a person puts a piece of food in his mouth, there's saliva. The first thing is that the saliva begins to work on the food, dissolve it, you have to break it up, then you have to swallow it, and then you have to digest it. The similar process occurs in learning Chassidus. At least it's meant to occur. It depends what we do with it. This is the concept in Chassidus, what's called, there is two levels of learning Chassidus. The general is called limud and hisbonus. Limud and tefillah. That from learning Chassidus, then you misboinen. Hisbonus is a different function than learning. Learning is to understand what it says. Hisbonus is to bring it close to yourself, so that your own mind begins to see, oh yeah, that's really the way I see it. This is this is my world. And this brings about that a person davens differently and does mitzvahs differently and has a complete unifies, so to speak, with the principles of Chassidus and with Elokus, with the Eibush. So therefore, I'm saying we're going to start learning the Maimer. You can expect that we're going to go slowly. We're going to discuss everything that needs to be discussed, but we're not going to stay on one topic. It's going to be a lot of misholim. It's called a moshel. The idea of a moshel is that you take something that we readily understand, and you show in this moshel a certain point that helps you to understand something that is really remote, something that you don't readily see. But this becomes a means by which you enter this gate. All right. Sheishes Yomim Teichel Matzos. This is a pasuk in the Torah. Sheishes Yomim Teichel Matzos is 6 days you should eat matzos. Yom Hashvi, and on the seventh day, Atzeres LaHashem Elokecha. Is the seventh day is called Atzeres. The word Atzeres means holding back. In other words, this is a special day that you're holding back from doing malacha, from going out in the world, and you are dedicating this day LaHashem Elokecha to Hashem. V'lomdu razal mizeh b'mechilta. And the Chacham learn out from this posuk in Mechilta. Mechilta is a medrash on the Chumash. The Huva, and it's also brought down the Seif Perek Arvei Psochim. At the end of the Perek Arvei Psochim. Arvei Psochim is last Perek in Psochim. Mesech Psochim. Last Perek. Daf Kuf Chof Amadam. So the Gemara of this says, and the Mechilta says, Ma shvi reshus, af shisha reshus. Just as shvi is reshus, reshus means it's permissible, it's not obligatory. Shisha, the first 6 days, are also reshus. So I don't know how you're familiar with this. Let me give you this briefly the whole rundown on this. Pesach, you know, is 7 days. We have Pesach 8 days. The 8th day is an additional day that we have because of Golus. You familiar with this? You know the Achron Shel Pesach. That's right. Because when we used to Mekadesh the Levona, Mekadesh the Chedesh, based on citing the Levona. And that Kiddush HaChedesh took place only in Yerushalayim. Couldn't take place anyplace else. So witnesses has to go to Yerushalayim and say the testimony that they saw the Levana, and then Bezdin say it's Rosh Chodesh. In those days there were no cell phones. So how are the people around the world going to know when Rosh Chodesh is? In order to know when Pesach is, you know when they have to know when Rosh Chodesh is. Pesach is the 14th day of Pesach of Nisan is Korban Pesach, and the Yom Tov Pesach with Matzah begins on the 15th day. So there is always a doubt between 2 days, because a month can be a month is depending on the Levana. You all know that, right? The cycle of the Levana. What is the cycle of the Levana? The cycle of the Levana is that there is the middle of the month when the Levana shows complete circle, you have a complete vision of the Levana. Then, from the middle on down, the Levana begins to recede, become smaller and smaller, until that at the very end of the month, the Levana disappears completely. And then, the beginning of the month, the Levana reappears. This is called Chidush Al-Levana, the new moon, and that's Rosh Chodesh. Now, to sight this little sliver of the Levana is not always easy. Sometimes it's clouded, sometimes nobody had the chance to see it, depends where it is, and so forth. Now, how long does it take the Levana from the moment that it is born, so to speak? That's called Meil Dalvana, when the first sliver of Levana appears, till the moment when the Levana disappears completely. It's almost exactly 29 and a half days. Actually, it's a little less than that. So if Rosh Chodesh was, let's say, on Monday. Rosh Chodesh was on Monday. 4 weeks later, which is 28 days later, 4 weeks later, on Monday, which 4 weeks later is actually Sunday, right? That's 28 days. Then you have another day and a half before Rosh Chodesh. before the Levana reappears. We do not make Rosh Chodesh a half a day. Rosh Chodesh is always made a full day. So if the Levana appears, let's say, if the Chodesh was Monday, the Levana appears, you make Rosh Chodesh Wednesday. If you make Rosh Chodesh Wednesday, then the next time around, the Levana will appear earlier because you already added to the month a whole half a day, 3/4 of a day. And this is how come there is always a fluctuation between 2 days. Sometimes Rosh Chodesh is on the 29th day, rather, sometimes the Rosh Chodesh is on the 30th day, sometimes on the 31st day. Like we have today, 2 days of Rosh Chodesh. Why we have 2 days of Rosh Chodesh? Actually, Rosh Chodesh, this today was Lamed Nisan, was not Rosh Chodesh yet. The real Rosh Chodesh, it means the beginning of the next month, begins tomorrow.
So that's all about Greenback was saying, it's the same thing. Now, at the beginning of the year, people don't use it as the end of Nisan, they use it as the beginning of the year.
That's right, you call it Rosh Chodesh year, but in technical terms, it is still part of Nisan. And the reason that we have these 2 days is that here we had to make, because the Levana appears, let's say, at the end today in the afternoon. So this is only half a day. So therefore we make Rosh Chodesh the next day. So that's why we have 2 days of Chodesh. And this fluctuates. Next month, for instance, it's going to be 1 day Rosh Chodesh, and it's going to be the 30th day, which will then be called Aleph Sivan. Not Lamed Iyar, but Aleph Sivan. Today it was Lamed Nisan.
Why does it happen sometimes like that?
I explained to you, because Rosh Chodesh, the Levana does not appear. The second Levana is in the middle of a day. So you don't, huh?
It's a half day.
It's a half a day. So either it depends when it comes out. You put it and give it to the previous month, or you give it to the next month.
So how long do they do it? Every 2 months?
What?
It ends up every 2 months.
Normally, the normal cycle is, it's called a mole and a choser. A Chodesh mole means 30 days, and choser means 29 days. And then there are also exceptions to that. Sometimes you have Cheshvan and Kislev, or Kislev and Teves could be both mole, both choser. That depends on the year, what kind of year it is, and so forth. Okay. So I just deviated to talk about how come we have 2 days Pesach, 8-day Pesach. It's only to accommodate the Golus, because the people in the Golus, far away from Yerushalayim, didn't know when the Sheishes was set up. How much was the doubt? The doubt was in 1 day. So since it was 1 day, they would add another day to Pesach. Mesofik, so that you wouldn't have solemn eat chometz on Pesach. So they made an extra day. That's why we have 8 days Pesach. But the Apitoira Pesach is 7 days. And this is how it is in Eretz Yisrael today, it's 7 days. The Torah says on Pesach you have to eat matzah. So it says you have to eat matzah 7 days. And then there's one posuk that says, like this posuk here, Sheishes Yom Techa Matzahs. You should eat matzah 6 days. If you eat matzah 6 days, that means that the 7th day you don't have to eat matzah. How do you reconcile this principle? So we say that the pshat in this is, on the 7th day, you're not allowed to eat chometz, the same as on the 6 days. Except that on the 7th day, you're not obligated to eat matzah. If you don't want to eat matzah, if you don't want to eat anything, you don't have to eat matzah. You can eat potatoes. That's called reshus. Reshus means you can eat if you want to eat, you can eat matzah.
All the other days you have to eat matzah?
Oh, so now the question is, what about the 6 days? So this is one of the ways that the Torah is called Torah Nidreshes, how we darshan the Torah, that they learn out from this posuk that the 7th day is Reshus. The fact that we know that the 7th day is Reshus, this teaches us also that all 6 days is also Reshus.
But it says clearly that, especially on the last day.
Right. So I'll explain to you how this is done. You say every day there are Sheishes meters that are in Dreshus. 13 meters, 13 ways that we dash in the Torah. One of these 13 meters is Dover Shehoya Bichlal, V'yotzim Min HaKlal L'Lamed, L'Lamed Al Atzma Yotzim, L'Lamed Al Chal Kula Yotzim. You sound like you know what that is. Yeah, what is it?
One to one. Think of it.
Right.
If it was something inside, it says something like, not necessarily, something general, and then something specific in it. So it didn't come to teach on the whole general thing, it came to teach on the other stuff.
No, just the opposite. It didn't come to teach just for itself, but it comes to teach for the whole klal. L'lamed al klal kula. So if the 7th day was now excluded, first it says Shivas Yom Techa Matzah. It says that you have to eat matzah 7 days. That's a klal. Then it says that the 7th day is Yotzim Min HaKlal. The 7th day that Yotzim Min HaKlal, it comes to teach you that the 7th day is Reshus. Right? I'm sorry? So the others are also Reshus. That's why it's Shish. Mashvi Reshus, Av Shish Reshus. Because not Shishi, Shisha. All the other 6, because Yotzim Min HaKlal L'Lamed, L'Lamed Al HaKlal Kulei. So it teaches you everything about the whole klal. That means that all 7 days in Bemis and Reshus. That we learn from this person. Uma she'achilas matzah hi chayva. But this that we know that eating matzah is actually obligatory, is a chayva, not Reshus. He rak lailo harishayna. That is only the first night, the first evening. But we make the say that that's the only time when it's obligated to eat matzah, obligatory to eat matzah. And that's the time when we make a bracha, a mitzvah, l'achilas matzah. K'meisha Kosov, as it says in the Kosov, Bo'erev teichlu matzahs. That in the evening of the 14th day, now it's the 15th day of Nisan in the evening, Erev Pesach, teichlu matzahs. You have to eat matzah. That's a mitzvah to eat. That's the only time when it's obligatory. Shemizeh lomdu. Mizeh lomdu, from this pasuk, Bo'erev teichlu matzahs, the Chacham learned Shegam achshov, that even today, she'ein korban Pesach, but there is no korban Pesach, Mikol mokim, yet still hachiyuv balayla harishayno lechol matzah. Still, there is the chiyuv, the obligation, the first night to eat matzah. What is the point in this? Because be'emerson, the achilas matzah, in the pasuk says, the achilas matzah is al matzah shum roirim yechluhu. That matzah, the korban pesach has to be eaten with matzah. That's the real chiyuv of the achilas matzah, to eat matzah together with the pesach. How do we know today that we do not have a korban pesach? That we also have a mitzvah and a chiyuv to eat matzah. That we know from the pasuk Bo'erev teichlu matzahs. So next to the pasuk, in the evening you eat matzah. That says that regardless whether you have a korban pesach or not, in the evening of Pesach you have to eat matzah. Okay? Kach, Pirish, B'Shulchan Aruch, Hilchos Pesach, Siman Tov Ayin Hey, Siv Zayin. And this is, in Shulchan Aruch, brought down this conclusively that this is the source, the reason that we say that it's obligatory to eat matzah Pesach evening is from the Pasuk Ba'erev Techel Matzahs. Even though the real chiyuv to be Mekayim, the mitzvah achilas matzah in the real sense, you have to eat it together with the Korban Pesach. Our matzahs from Reivim Yichlu. This is why we make koirech in the Seder Pesach. Because Hillel used to make a sandwich of matzah and morer and Korban Pesach. So we make a sandwich with morer. We don't have Korban Pesach, so we make a sandwich with morer.
It's from the Torah.
Huh?
Sekarach is from the Torah. Sekarach is from the Torah.
That was Hillel's opinion. Today we don't. Without Korban Pesach, that's not from the Torah for sure. So we are just only doing it to the zecher to what Hillel did.
Was Hillel in the time of the Beis Hamikdash?
What?
Was Hillel in the time of the Beis Hamikdash?
Yeah. No, he was in time with him. Yeah. But tzarich lahavin. So we need to understand. Lo moksiv sheishes yom teichal matzes. Why does it say 6 days you should eat matzes, seeming to say that there is an obligation to eat matzah? Ukmei shekosu, and as it says, matzes yeyochel leshivas hayom. The 7 days of Pesach, matzah should be eaten. In other words, it seems to be saying that it is that you are. We know the din is that it's only a reshus, and yet the expression in the posuk is that it's obligatory to eat matzah. Mashva, which seems to be implying, sheyesh eze yisro in ba'achilas matzah gam b'shar hayomim. That there is some kind of a yisro, some kind of a value, special value in eating matzah the other days as well. Yeah. In other words, even though it's only a reshus, it's not an obligation. But the Torah says you should eat matzah on the 6 days. You should eat matzah on the 7 days. So there has to be some kind of a positive value in eating matzah during these 6 days as well. Even though we say that it's really a reshus, it's not obligation. But it seems to be hard to understand mahu. What is this yisroy? What is this special mila of eating matzah in the 7 days or in the 6 days? Since that the chi of the obligation is actually only the first night, what then is the benefit that Meshiachol matzah gam b'shar hayomim? In eating matzah the other days as well. And the implication in the posuk is that there is some kind of advantage. You should eat matzah 7 days. So this is question number 1. What is the expression in the Torah? You should eat matzah in the 6 days and the 7 days mean? Furthermore, we also need to understand an expression, a unique expression in the Pasuk. Masha Kosu, what it says in the Pasuk, Matzah yeyochel shivas hayom. Matzah should be eaten shivas hayom. What does the word shivas hayom mean? You should eat the 7 days. That's the way the Pasuk expressed it. The Havele Lema, they should have said, B'shivas hayom. You should eat it during the 7 days. She'oz, Tzorich ha'odam lechol matzah. During the 7 days, this is when a person has to eat matzah. And here it says, matzah yochel eishiv yom, you should eat the 7 days matzah. So the expression in the pasuk is needs to be explained and explained. Sure. Hini Omer Azad Yerushalmi Perik Arve Psoch. Chazal say in Yerushalmi, Kol Ho'echel Matzah D'Erev Pesach. One who eats matzah D'Erev Pesach, Ki L'beir Arasosa B'Beis Chomov. I'll explain to you. In marriage, there are 2 stages in marriage. There is what's called Kiddushin, it's called Erusin, and then there is called Nisuyin. Erusin is done with money, generally speaking. It can be done otherwise, but that's under the chuppah, the chosin gives the kala a ring, that's the Erusin, that's the Kiddushin. That's the first step. And then the chuppah, this is the Nisuyin. The din in the Torah is that even though that if you're Mekadesh, the din of this of the kala is that she becomes like a married woman, but is still not allowed to go and live together until you have nisui.
But you also can't divorce.
Huh?
You need to divorce only with you need to divorce.
That's right. If Chas v'Shalom they break up, they have to have a regular divorce.
That's why Chabad do it in chuppah, because a lot of people, Sephardi's do it when in engagement.
Yeah, we don't do that. It's already many years that we don't do it. Separate times. We do it all at the same time. but she's not really married in the sense that that they go and moving into into their own home. They're not allowed to. So the Gemara says, show me that eating matzah erev Pesach is as if like taking only an arusa without chuppah, taking it in your home. So the question is, what's the point of this? We need to understand ma shayech ledames achilas matzah erev Pesach. What is the point? What is the significance of comparing eating matzah erev Pesach lebeira asosem beischom of skipping the chuppah and going straight from an eres. V'yuvon behegdem inyan achilas matzah upiolosa b'nefesh odo. This is the main discussion over here. This will be understood by first discussing and understanding the inyan achilas matzah, the inyan, the point, the significance of eating matzah. Of course, eating matzah is a mitzvah in the Torah, but every mitzvah in the Torah has, besides the fact that we're fulfilling Hashem's command, the Hashem's command has an effect on the world and has an effect on the person. The effect is a godly effect, and we are going to try and explain what is the inyan of achilas matzah. Why did the Rebbe tell us to eat matzah, essentially? And piyulos, what is the effect of eating matzah, the nefesh ha'odam, on the human being? How does that affect the person? The hine bezoyhar, for we have to recognize an important thing. The zoyar, in the zoyar, nikraz hamatzah, the matzah is called, is referred to b'shem michlo dimehem nusa. Michlo dimehem nusa. Michlo means food, dimehem nusa of emunah. What? Food of emunah, food that gives emunah, dimehem nusa of emunah. Pirush, the pshat, nichlo dimehem nusa. What does it mean? What does it mean? The food of emunah. And derech mashakosov. This is similar to what the Pasuk says, Shchon Eretz Urei Emuna. This is a Pasuk, Shchon Eretz Urei Emuna. Dwell on the earth. Urei Emuna. What's Urei Emuna mean? Re'ei? No, not see. Look at the word. Re'ei with an ayin. A shepherd. You should feed the Emunah. Urei Emunah should feed the Emunah. Shapirush Urei Emunah, where the pirush of the word Urei Emunah, what does it mean? You feed him, Shemafarne says Ho Emunah, that he actually feeds and strengthens the Emunah. Ve'al this is also similar to the expression when it says Moshe Rayo Mehemna. Moshe is called Rayo Mehemna. Rayo means a shepherd. Mehemna means a trustworthy, a faithful shepherd.
Wait, so that pasuk that we said before is said on Matzah, about Matzah.
Right. The Zayar calls it Michel de Mahinus. No, Urei Emunah is not all about Matzah. It's a pasuk in Tehillim. Moshe is called Rayo Mehemna. What does Rayo Mehemna means? Like you said, the pasuk Rayo Mehemna means the faithful shepherd, the trustworthy shepherd. But there is a chassidus attached in this. That Moshe is Rayo. Moshe is a shepherd. What does he feed the Jewish people? He feeds them Emunah. Moshe gives Emunah into the Jewish people. And Moshe Rayo Mehemna. Shemefarnei, what? Matzah is called Michla de Menusa, and Michla the Asvosa. Michla de Menusa is food of Emunah, and Michla de Asvosa means food that heals. And it says that the first night of Pesach is called Michal de Menusa, the second night is called Michal de Aslos. In the Zohar it's called Michal de Mehumus. It feeds the Emunah. And Moshe Rayo Mehemna means that Moshe is mefarnes neshomes Yisrael. He's mefarnes neshomes Yisrael with Emunah. So just as we have this expression of Re'ei Emunah on Michal and the Moshe Rayo Mehemna, that Emunah can be fed, can be strengthened. Kach, likewise, Bechin as Matzah, the inyan of Matzah is, we asked originally, we said we want to understand what is the effect of Matzah. The inyan of Matzah is, Hi Michlo de Mehumus, is the food for Emunah. Shemefarnes as bechinas ho Emunah. It feeds this element in the neshama that's called Emunah. It strengthens that element of Emunah. Okay, so now we have to understand what is this Emunah that Matzah feeds and strengthens. Emunah hi bechinas mekaber. Okay, here we'll have to go careful and explain every word and understand what we're saying. Emunah has the nature of mekaber. First, I'll say the words inside, and then we'll discuss it. Bechinas mekaber, bechinas malchus, which is the bechina of malchus. And as it says, ve'amunah kol zois. We say it every day in mind. Ve'amunah kol zois. That means that emunah has the gender of zois, loshen nekeva. Shemekabelas mibchinas emes. Everybody knows that zois is loshen nekeva, right? You know that ze and zois. In loshen kodesh, there are two different. In English, there is no distinction between one and the other. But in loshen kodesh, there is a distinction between loshen nekeva and loshen zoch. By emunah, it says emunah zois. Shemekabelas mibchinas emes. What is Malchus receives its highest from the element of emes. There is emes and there is emunah. Emes is the mashpia, is the zocher, and emunah is the mekabel. And as it says also in Tikkun Zehar, ihu emes ve'ihi emunah. Ihu, the zocher, ihu. Ihu is loshen zocher, is emes, and ihi is emunah.
Ihu is he as in she.
And ihi is she, right. The hamatzah, I'll come back to discuss this in. I just want to finish the words. The hamatzah he, and thus the matzah is michlo dimhe menusa, the food for the amunah, for the nekeva. Shehi amafarneso, shemefarnes ez hu amunah. Matzah is mefarneso, feeds the amunah. Shemefarnes ez hu amunah, it feeds and strengthens the amunah. There are many things that were said over here. The need for Makabel, the need for Malchus, the need for Nekeva, and so forth. I'm going to discuss just one element of this. The union that Emunah is a Makabel. We said Emunah has to be fed. What is the principle of a makabel? It is that it has what's called the element of beetle. It accepts what is being fed, what's being given there. But on its own, it does not have a power to go and sustain itself. Emes is that which stands on its own. It's the mashpia. Emunah does not stand on its own. Emunah has to be constantly aroused, has to be constantly strengthened, has to be fed. Huh? No, there has to be, besides guiding. Every person has a emunah, as we're going to see. But the emunah in the person cannot stand on its own. It has to be all the time strengthened, all the time given encouragement. This is the difference between emes and emunah. Emes and emunah are the same concept. Emes is truth and emunah is steadfast. What's steadfast? Steadfast is that which doesn't change because it's emes. But there's this difference between emes and emunah. Emes is that which permeates. Breaks through all obstacles. This stands on its own. Whereas emunah can go to sleep, can be dormant, and it has to be reawakened all the time. In the nefesh ha'adam, there are these two elements. There is the emes of the nefesh, and then there's the emunah.
Wait, but MS is always, you always have it, right?
Right.
But it could be hidden. So Emunah is the same thing. You could have it, but someone says he doesn't have Emunah. It's always hidden. You just need to arouse it. He has it. What's the difference?
The difference is that the element of emes per se, its function is to be where it is, not to be expressed externally. Emunah, its function is to be functional. Whereas emes is something which stays inside in its place. Every person appreciates emes. No matter where he is, he appreciates emes. Tell me the truth, right? But emunah, that depends where he is.
It's not that MS. It's like MS that way the Hashem is in.
Excuse me?
It's like MS like the Hashem is true. Or it's MS like a normal person, like in his brain, like he wants truth in everything, like in the world. It's like true.
It's true. The every element of emes, even in the normal human inclination for emes, is rooted in the nekudas emes of the nefesh.
No, without MS, like, he can't have Emunah.
Without emes, it can't have emunah. That's right, of course. But emes is always there. Emunah can become completely obliviated if you don't see it. And this will all come out. Okay, so this will continue further next time to discuss what is emunah, what is loving inyan hu emunah. That's where you're up to. Okay, you have the place. Loving inyan hu emunah. Okay, so you saw how I pointed out to you before we started learning. We started talking about eating matzah on Pesach, whether it's a reshus or a chayv. And then we say, oh, but before we go to explain that, we first have to know what is the meaning of matzah, what is the effect of matzah on nefesh. And the effect of matzah is in from emunah. What is emunah? Now all of a sudden talking about emunah, but where is matzah? That's it. We'll come back at the very end of this whole discussion. That's not the point. The point is we're going to discuss everything in detail now. What is emunah? And why does emunah need to be fed? Need to be sustained. All that is going to be discussed. And this, then we're going to come back to matzah and why we eat matzah 6 days and 7 days.